I went up there and I walked in the dojo and I went, oh man, this is great. All my high school friends are here.
Hmm.
I thought they were my friends. So the minute I got in there and started, they would beat the crap out of me. But I got back at them because later on, like that was in '73 and '78, my teacher moved to Florida and I took over to school. So now that was my way of getting back at them by
Yeah.
sticking with it and becoming an instructor.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. And on today's episode, I'm joined by Dan Donzella. Dan, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. And to all of you out there, if you're new, please make sure you check out whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. It's where we do transcripts and show notes. Everything that Dan and I talk about today is going to be posted there. Any of the links, his social media, all that stuff will be there. And it's also one of the places you can sign up for our newsletter to know what's going on, go behind the scenes, join the Patreon to get exclusive bonus content. But you might also want to check out whistlekick.com. That's our online home for all the things we do, because we do more than this show. And if you're unfamiliar with our mission to connect, educate, and entertain, to get everybody in the world to train for 6 months, you might want to learn more about that. Now, this episode is brought to you by Kataro. They make absolutely amazing things. Most people know them for their belts. Kataaro.com. Use the code WK10 to save 10% on your first order. They do wholesale accounts. They do make some other cool stuff. Some of you have been around a while. You've seen the hoodie that they sent me, and I keep my Kataro belt in a Kataro belt bag and everything. And actually, Dan, as a thank you for you supporting the show and the way that they support the show, they've got something for you. Andrew's going to connect you with them, and they do some fun stuff for our guests. So, but without further ado, let's talk about you. Thanks for being here.
Well, you probably heard this a million times. My cousin was in Okinawa Marine Corps.
Okay.
He got out. He gave me some lessons. I was like 14, 15. That's how I got interested. But I was playing guitar at the time. And
yeah, because we still have a good chunk of people who don't watch, they listen. And that was the first thing I was struck by. Here you are, you're in this chair, you said you're at home, and behind you is a guitar and some manner of blade something on the other side of you.
That's a Gurkha.
Okay.
Gurkha.
Okay. I don't know all the names, but I could tell it was curvy.
Yeah. I bought that for my dad when he was alive. He was in the Battle of Cassino in Italy.
Okay.
And he was with the Sikhs and the Kutra and the Gurkhas.
Yeah.
And the British.
Okay.
So I bought that for him for a long time ago for a birthday present.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I started, my cousin just showed me regular chops and stuff like that. Nothing really big, but I was more interested in getting in a band. So when I started playing in bands at ninth grade, and I played at 67, and I played all the way till 2005, all different kinds.
Who were your musical influences back then?
What was that?
Who were your musical influences?
Oh, geez. Well, when I was in high school, I played with Joe Walsh.
Did you really?
Yeah, the Eagles. He wasn't with the Eagles.
Seriously?
He wasn't with the Eagles yet.
Okay. All right.
He was 17 and 23.
Dan, I've got a feeling if I hadn't asked you that question, you wouldn't have told me that. So we've got to. All right, we've got to come to some terms of engagement. If you played music or trained with amazing people that most people would know about, you gotta tell me. Okay. How did you meet Joe Walsh?
We had a high school band. It was a 10-piece band with horns and stuff. We played Chicago and stuff like that. And our manager was from New York City, and he had everybody. He said, the James Gang is coming up, and Joe Walsh was the leader of the James Gang at the time, and they're going to play in our town. Would you guys want to be the openers? And we said, yeah. So we opened up the concert, and that's how I met Joe.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it was.
Talk about an iconic band.
Yeah, so that was my first initiation of being. But he wasn't a star yet. I didn't really know who he was.
No, but
until he joined the Eagles.
Yeah, there's something really interesting. If you go back in the history of this show, you find one hobby that shows up very often, music, and one profession that shows up very often,
Right.
IT.
It's
There's something about martial artists that a lot of us gravitate towards one or I don't know that we've talked to too many people that do both, but there's something very interesting to me. And I don't think we'll go there yet, but at some point we are going to talk about how music and martial arts connect for you. But please keep going. So
they're
you're
both an art. They're both an art.
sure.
And I was a professional in both because I was paid. So
Mm.
people, I had one, I was talking to this girl on the internet, and I told her that I teach seminars and street,
Mhm.
stuff. And she goes, "Oh, nice hobby." Hobby? No, that's not my hobby. So I deleted her and blocked her. No, conversation over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're a teenager. You've learned some things,
Yeah, so I went
but your
away.
focus is on music because let's face it, most kids are going to choose playing in a band,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're at that standing that you're opening for other bands that are coming up over training. So how far did music take you in that way?
Well, played, I can't remember how many bands I played in, but I got to play with Joe. I got to play with Joey Mullen, a Badfinger. I got to play with Mark Dawson, the Grassroots, uh,
Yeah.
things like that. So
Wow.
it was a good career. I
Yeah.
mean, I made a lot of money, except the money was under the table, so it didn't help my Social Security.
So at what point did you either bring martial arts up to be in parallel with your interest of music, or maybe you spent a little less time with music? Where does martial arts come back into the picture?
Good question, Jeremy. I went to college in Boston for music. When I came
Okay.
back, I was teaching at a music
At,
store.
at the conservatory?
Yeah,
Okay.
Berkeley College of
Oh,
Music
okay.
in Boston.
Yeah.
So I was teaching in a music store, and the guy next to me was teaching banjo, and I was teaching guitar.
Okay.
So during our breaks, he would beat me up in the hallway. I go, "What do you beat me up with?" He goes, "It's a Chinese, Indonesian kung fu type thing." He goes, "I'm not sure. I just started lessons." I said, "Where?" And he goes,
Okay. So he wasn't beating you up in the sense that he was bullying you. You were having
he
you were
was
sparring
he was
essentially.
trying all the stuff that he learned in class on me.
Okay. All right. I think most of us have been there at some
Yeah,
point.
we all been there. I mean, you want to try it out, see if it works.
Right. Of course.
So that was my initiation in martial arts. So I found out that the school was a Goju-Ryu school right up from my street where I lived.
Okay.
That's with my parents at the time. So I went up there and I walked in the dojo and I went, "Oh man, this is great! All my high school friends are here."
Mm.
I thought they were my friends. So the minute I got in there and started, they would beat the crap out of me. But I got back at them because later on, like that was in '73 and '78, my teacher moved to Florida and I
Mm.
took over to school. So now that was my way of getting back at them by
Yeah.
sticking with it and becoming an instructor.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
What when you walked in, you're 17, 18, 19, somewhere around there?
I
When
was
you
out of college. I was
Okay.
23, 21.
Okay. Okay. So you said 73. So was this were you part of the Bruce Lee wave that you'd been watching the movies and said I need to do this and it fell into place, or was your story a bit different?
No. We would go see Bruce Lee movies, but I
Hmm.
wasn't really thinking about studying martial arts
Mm.
until that situation happened in the music store.
Okay. So
So,
what was it about the way he was, I guess, taking you to task with what he was learning that made you interested? Because plenty of people in that situation would say, I don't want to be part of this, right? This is scary. This is new. Makes me afraid. I don't know what's going on here. But you, it sounds like, had the opposite response. I want to understand this.
oh, Jeremy, when I went to the karate schools in New York, in my hometown, Syracuse, I would watch them and I would see
Hmm.
what they were doing. And then what this guy did to me at the music store was something totally I never seen before.
Mm.
Really went, man, what is this? So then I thought about maybe this is kind of like the Chinese stuff that Bruce Lee talked about. That, and then I went there and I walked into the dojo and I saw them working out and doing stuff. I go, I like this. This is something for me. I'm only 5'4". I was 127 pounds at the time. I said,
Yeah.
this might fit just for me. And it did. It was just perfect.
Okay.
It fit my size and my strength at the time. And I just progressed. So I didn't know I was an athlete till I started. And everybody said, man, you picked this stuff up.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that, because one of the things, and you're an instructor, you've probably seen this. Some people come in and they have, maybe they've got some outside interest, but nothing that they're super passionate about. And it could be day one, day two, they realize, holy cow, there's something here that really connects for me in martial arts. Was that you? Was it like a light switch for you? This became your obsession?
Yep, it just hit me like, man, I go, this fits me.
Okay.
Up and down motion. It was take the high. If the high doesn't work, take the low. It wasn't trying to power through a guy. I couldn't power through a 6'5", 250-pound guy. Impossible. I had to find a way to take him out differently. And my teacher, who was Sifu Guru Dan Donzella at the time, who studied under our master in Dunkirk, New York, he showed how what he was teaching me was different from the guy over in the other end of the room who was 6 feet tall. I go, this is cool. He's not forcing me to be the big guy. He's making me find how to fight that big guy. And that really, really hit. And that's how I teach now. I mean, I could have a room of 40 people and I'm teaching a seminar and I'll walk around the room and I'll change the techniques depending on who the person is. I said, no, do it this way because it won't work for you.
Yeah, the angles. I'm not much taller than you. The angles of going up here are very different than the angles of going out here, and
there's
the
no
way force applies. And
powers right here. Yeah. So if you got to put the power there, I mean, you're looking at your targets right in front of you. You're not trying to find other targets.
Right.
So it was really interesting.
Okay. I think for most martial artists, that early stage, that super passionate stage, a lot of us, it's like putting on a costume in a sense, because it's something we want to be, we want to do, but we're not quite there yet. But inevitably, and spoiler alert, you became an instructor. So you already acknowledged that. So at some point you transition from kind of putting on the costume to becoming that thing. But for a lot of people, they'll put on the costume, they'll find their passion with it, but they don't stick with it. And whatever the numbers are, right? Like, people quote these different numbers, they're all made up, but it's a small percentage of people that persist long enough to become instructors.
Well, 10% can make it to maybe 20%, 25% makes a black belt, but maybe only 10% become instructors.
20. If you're bringing 25% of your students to black belt, then I need to learn what you're doing, because that is a
well, I'm thinking in general, not my students.
It's single digits for sure.
You think so?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, the number that's often quoted is 1%. There's some variability in there, and we're actually, not that we're going to go into this, but we're working on a research project right now to bring real data to that question. But you didn't stop.
No,
right? It's so easy to stop, right? When you've got a thing that's always there, and I think it's one of the biggest things we fight against as an industry is there's no end, there's no season, there's no break. It's just we just train. We keep doing it. We show up once, twice, 3, 7 times a week, whatever it is.
Right.
But you didn't. What I'm not hearing is that you stopped and went back. You kept going. Why did you keep going? What was it that you found in your training? Because everybody seems to have something that they find. That you found something in your training. You said, I can't stop.
Good question, Jeremy. Our system is called a broken mirror system.
Okay.
Our master had 9 Silat teachers. He grew up in Indonesia, Java. And he had his uncle, who was Chinese, teach him Kung Fu. So he had 10 systems. And when he taught in the United States, when he came here, he started to teach everybody something different, a different system in order to keep it in him. He didn't teach it, you lose it. So he started teaching everybody different. So when we all got together and we started to meet each other, I go, oh, you're from Master Readers? He's my master too. And he goes, those aren't the forms I learned. Those aren't the techniques I learned. He goes, no, I learned Pukalan. No, I learned Kun Tao. No, I learned Garuda. No, I learned Chuan Fa. I go, whoa. So I go, after I got done with my system, Garuda, Chuan Fa, Jamandi, I want to know what the Chuan Fa was separately. I want to know what the Jamandi was separately.
Okay.
And I found these people. So after 1978, from the 1980s and 1990s, I kept on finding people that were from the lineage. And so I could add on to what I didn't know. That was part of the system that I did know. That makes sense?
So what if I could restate what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you became focused on what you didn't know. And it was the awareness of how much there was. And you know, I don't know that I've ever realized this, but I think what you're saying, it's giving me an idea, and I'll put words to it and see if you agree. The people who go the furthest in their martial arts training are the people who find value, enjoyment, joy, something in what they don't know, what they don't have. The people who get stuck and quit are obsessed with what they do know.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
Are you done up here, or are you still searching? Do you stop at black belt and then never study again or never practice again? Once you leave the dojo, you say, oh, that was fun. Done. No. When it's stuck inside you and you have to get it out, and then when you get it out, you want more. You gotta go somewhere else to find the more.
I got to write a note on that, because this is something I'm gonna contemplate. All right, so there are these different styles in your lineage, and it's almost like the way physical combat martial arts is presented in some video games and in some movies, right? You've got to go around and collect the knowledge from the masters. It's script worthy. It's a movie, but it's your life as you're going around. Go ahead.
Right.
Did you find that there were certain styles that you gravitated to more than others? Did you find this one feels like it's a bigger piece of my puzzle than this other one over here?
I gravitated more to the Indonesian.
Okay. Why? What was it about those philosophically?
Because it fit me and it was very interesting to learn. It had the process of learning it and the way it was explained. I mean, and the difference between the islands, the Harimau from Sumatra or the Jamandi from Java, they're all slightly different. They're still Indonesian. They still have that flavor. They still have that body movement, but they also had different ways of fighting. When you combine them all together, remember, a style is different from a system. A system.
What do you mean by that? Not some people use those words interchangeably.
A style is like when you Taekwondo. I took a style. That's Korean. Okay, and I stuck with it. And not me. I never took Taekwondo, and that's your style. But then you have a guy who has a system, and he has all different styles mixed in to create that system that he feels that's right for him, not for somebody else.
Hmm.
So when you add stuff to what you need, not
Okay.
somebody else needs, what you need.
Okay. So I'm looking for a musical analogy there. So the style could be
Country,
the
play
genre of music, and the
country, you play
system could
country.
be the way you play it.
And then you turn the country into blues. Now, what was the Eagles? It was country rock. They took rock and mixed it with country. So they took a style of country and a style of rock and made it a musical system.
Okay. All right.
Make
That
sense?
that is clearer. I like that. Okay. Okay. All right. Keep going. Keep going. You're turning wheels. I love when we have episodes where the wheels turn for me. Makes me excited.
Right. So in the 80s, I was learning Kempo. I had a friend who wanted to learn my system. He wanted to learn the Indonesian. He moved
Hmm.
to Syracuse and he had opened up his own school. I said, okay, you teach me Kempo. I'll teach you Silat.
Okay.
And we'll just get together after your classes are done and we just exchange. So he taught me his whole system all the way up to fifth degree. And
Mm.
I taught him everything he could possibly learn. And then he closed up the school, moved to Denver, and became
Mm.
a cop.
Oh, jerk.
So that ended. But that was my 80s. Then in the
Mm.
90s, I met Kevin Seaman and I started taking collie from Kevin. And then
Okay.
Kevin introduced me to Dan Inosanto.
Mm.
So the day that I
What year was that?
93.
Okay. So you'd been around 20 years. You
Yes.
certainly, I'm sure you knew who Dan Inosanto was at
Now
that point.
I had a TV show, Access TV show at the time, and I had
Okay.
martial artists on my show. I had
Okay.
I had June Ree, I had Master Yamada from New York City, a whole bunch of other guys. I had Kevin on there, but I asked Kevin, "Can I put Dan on my TV show?" He goes, "Come on down. We'll have put everybody." So I had Guru Dan, I had Larry Hartzell, I had Francis Fong, and Master Jai all on my
Wow.
TV show.
That's
So
cool.
I get there and I didn't really meet any of those guys yet. I'm sitting down, adjusting my camera, and Guru Dan sits next to me, and he's going through his book. And I go, Guru Dan, I'm the one who's going to put you on the TV show. He goes, oh, that's okay. And I said, I'm from the Master Reader System. And he opened his mouth, goes, we got to talk. He opened up his book, and it goes, these are notes from Bruce Lee, who mentions your master. Because he was looking for Silat when he was in California before he
Mhm.
moved to Hong Kong to start his movie career.
Mm.
We just talk, 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 talk.
Oh,
And then
cool.
he said, I said, I'm going to start taking lessons from him. He goes, come on down, you know. So I took lessons from him for 9 years.
Wow.
So I got his C lot was from everybody. But then he
Mm.
turned me on to Pedekar Paul Latoirs. Now, Paul Latoirs, I didn't too much about him. When I first met him in New Jersey, I mentioned Master Readers, which was our
Mm.
master. And he goes, oh, that's nice. My mom dated him. I go, man, this is wild. This family thing is just driving me nuts. So then I studied under Paul for a while.
Wow. Somebody told me once, they said, martial arts is absolutely huge and wide unless
Right.
you get beyond the surface level. Unless once you get up to, people who've been training 10, 20 years, it narrows up very quickly. And so I hear these stories, you've, and I'm not going to call attention to it, but we could talk later. You mentioned someone that I believe was mentioned in another episode, right? Like, so I've got this interesting web of connections from these episodes
Yeah.
that people talk about. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a small
Okay.
world.
It is. Martial arts is such a small world, and it's one of the things I really enjoy. Um, the first, you might find this fun. This hasn't come up in a while, so I'll mention it. to the audience, if you go back to the Master Ken episode, Matt Page, I think that was like 43, 38, something like that. And I'm sitting here and I'm talking with Matt and we're doing our thing. And he starts mentioning town names. Well, come to find out, we grew up 30 minutes apart in Maine.
Yep.
I knew his instructor. We were at the same tournaments. I mean, the martial arts world is once you get beyond a certain point, it's tight. And I love that. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it blows your mind.
Yeah.
When you find out these things, you never would think about it in a million years.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, everybody knows everybody.
Right. Let's talk about your TV show. So what prompted that? Why? Because I know how much work it is to do this show now with computers handling most of the effort. Back then, if you're dragging around a camera, we're talking about tape, we're talking about hard edits, we're talking about a lot of equipment and a lot of time. And I know because that's when I started. I started in that world in college. Why did you want to put in that much work?
Well, Jeremy, I won't mention any names, but there was this other Access martial arts show on, and it was terrible. It was like a comedy show. So I said, I got to do my own. I can't watch this anymore. So I went down to.
Once we're done recording, I'm gonna ask you because I think I know what you're talking about, but I won't. We don't have to put it out publicly.
No, maybe he's not alive no more. I don't know. But so I went down to, and I had to take the whole course. I had to learn the upstairs, the control room, every single thing, how to control, how to do the lighting, how to do the cameras, and then they said, okay, now that you're done with your course, you got to find 4 people. So I said, I was working at the time and I got 4 volunteers. I said, guys want to learn how to do a TV show? They all thought, that is great. Let's go. And we all came down. And then I just had to find people to be on it. So I got all my locals, all the martial arts. And then they were bringing in famous people. So they said, come on down. I got a famous person coming. We got somebody for your show. And bam, that's how it happened. So it just kept on building up.
Yeah. This is the story of martial arts radio as well. It started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And didn't know what I was doing and I don't want to say I had to beg my friends. They were willing to do it. They just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I was terrible. And I tell people, please don't listen to the early episodes when you start. Please listen to the later ones and then go back. Once you like me and what we do, then you can go back.
Jerry, I first shows and I got my foot up and I'm playing with my shoelaces and stuff like that. I go, oh my God, that was so bad. So I got better and better after each show.
Yeah.
After people said, don't do that.
Right. It's like martial arts, right? You keep going, you get a little bit better each time. And eventually you look back and say, wow, I've really come a long way.
Yeah.
How long did you do your show?
How long I did it?
Yeah.
It's only a couple of years. I think 4 years, 3 years, something like that. My brother's a musician, and he wrote the music for it.
Okay.
It was cool, and I had another guy help me with all the graphics. So it came out. It was really professional looking.
Have you done conversion to digital? Is this available? Is it on YouTube or anything?
No, I'll have to dig it up. Some of it's on the old big monster cassettes back then. This is 1980, so
there are companies that will convert that stuff, and I hope just for the and I'm sure I'm not the only one in the audience that wants to check out what you did because that wasn't something that was common back then. And
there's a couple of them. I could send you a TV show. I'll find him. He's got them.
I'd love to check it out and
I'll send you a good one so you don't laugh.
Okay. All right. So, what I'm hearing is this story of someone who is I'm gonna not in a distracted way, but meandering through the martial arts world and collecting and observing and meeting in a way that is very close to my heart because that's kind of how I see myself. I'll go anywhere. Oh, you're training here. What can I learn from you? How can we connect? How can we collaborate? How can we make each other better? And that's what I'm hearing from you. But my understanding, and I can't speak to the Syracuse area specifically, but my understanding, because I started training in the early 80s, and I've talked to plenty of people on this show who were training at that time, bridging, crossing those divides, training with a bunch of different people and a bunch of different styles and systems wasn't always welcomed.
No.
Did you run into that? Were people trying to push you back and say, stay on your side?
Oh yeah, in the 60s and 70s, you weren't supposed to cross train. That was an insult to cross train to your teacher. Not anymore. Now,
right.
Now you encourage people learn.
Right. Right.
And if the teacher is against that, then I would say go find another one.
I have said the same thing. I think it is rare that someone should be so focused as to be prohibited from cross training.
Yeah. If your teacher says, no, my stuff's the best in the world, and no. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
So
no, go ahead.
Oh, you notice how martial arts will get you into things that you don't expect?
Yes.
Like we've been talking.
My whole life exemplifies that sentence.
I got to be in a Paul Newman movie because of my martial arts.
What? Okay. What? How? What?
They were filming the hockey movie Slapshot. So they were looking for extras. So I filled it out, and I said, I'm a martial artist. They set me back and said, you're hired. You're going to get paid, and you're going to be in the fight scene.
Cool.
So I'm sitting there. I got half the hockey rink is extras. So people just come down. And then they got a section of all us who got hired. And we had to come in where it's 80, 90 degrees outside. We had to wear winter clothes. And we're sitting there with our winter clothes on, watching the hockey game. And then Paul Newman came up from to my right. And I was fighting a hockey player on my left. And he was trying to pick me up with the hockey stick off the ground, which was a blast. But they cut me.
Oh.
Yeah, I ended up on the floor.
Oh. I'm sorry.
I watched the movie 100 times. I put it in slow motion. I can't find me. I know it. I'm 3 seats over to the right, but the camera didn't pan over far enough. I know they got me because they filmed me. I saw the camera film me, but they just cut it up on the cutting floor.
But you were still part of the movie.
I was. I still got I got the receipt from my first check. Nice. I still got that.
Was that enough to get a SAG card?
A what?
Screen Actors Guild.
No.
Oh, okay, I didn't think so, but
no.
I've got some friends that they've worked really hard to get to that. So was that it for your movie career?
Career, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it was just like done it out.
I want to go back. I want to talk about you as an instructor.
Yeah.
Because everything we've talked about up until this point showcases your passion, your interest, your openness. And there are a lot of people who stay on that path really forever, that they maybe they earn high ranks and they train in a number of different systems, and I'm not saying you can't do it that way, but at some point you said, I want to take on this additional responsibility of passing on what I have learned. What was the reason that you were willing to do that?
Of passing it down?
Yeah.
Well, my son.
Okay.
He was in high school. He was into basketball and football. He wasn't really interested in martial arts. And then all of a sudden he got really interested in what I was doing. And when I moved to Florida in 2015, he took over my students in the school. School was private. It was just, I was teaching out of my basement for like 20 years. And then I would do seminars. It wasn't a regular school. You walk in with a door and how many.
Okay.
I did all privates. in small groups. So then he's teaching at 2 martial arts schools and plus on his own. And when I do a seminar, he comes with me.
Mm.
He's my Yuki.
Mm.
So the more seminars I do, the more I'm going to give him that knowledge. So when I do quit um, permanently, that I know that he's got everything. And I think he's pretty much got everything right now because now he's starting to find his own, which is amazing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Expanding.
What is
all the time? And I watch him, and I can't find nothing wrong with him. I said, looks good.
What's it like getting to work with your son in that way? That you're, because it's one thing, plenty of people have taught their children, but to go out and do a seminar, to bring him and to collaborate on that teaching dynamic with him in front of others, what's that like?
It's a father so proud.
Yeah,
when he does a seminar by himself, sometimes he says, well, my dad does this. They say, no, we want you to do it. Don't mention your dad. Be you. And that's good. Be yourself. You're teaching on your own. You're getting your own seminars. That means you got the respect of from me, but now it's you, not me no more.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, then he says, well, I'll bring my dad down. So I'm doing a real big seminar on January 25th in Massachusetts. That's going to be great.
Okay.
At Jesse's Warrior School.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, isn't that the date? That's Jesse's 25th
to 26th
anniversary. Yeah. Jesse's been on the show, and nearly everyone that's also teaching at that event has been on the show. So that'll be a good time.
Yeah. He's 25 years. He's done really good.
Yeah. He's a good guy. Had a fun time talking with him. Yeah. All right. So let's kind of flip the timetable. We've spent a lot of time talking about past, a bit about now. Let's talk about future. You again, for the audience not watching, when you said, talking about your son, when you quit, you used air quotes, which to me suggests, not a choice of stopping training, but maybe your heart stops, and that's what stops your training. That's kind of what I saw. And I think for a lot of us, we can relate to that. The only way I'm done training is when I can't move. Right?
Yeah, they're gonna put dirt on me when I stop teaching. But I find stuff that I can't do anymore. Some of the real low Harvey Mouse stuff is a little bit tough. I could do it a couple times, but then I'm 73 now, so it's easy to go down. It's not easy to get back.
It's the getting back up.
Okay. But I did a whole Tiger Harvey Mouse seminar once, and my legs were like rock for 3 days after that. Mm-hmm. But it went away, and I felt great, and I'll do it again.
I have no doubt.
Doesn't matter.
What is it that keeps you so passionate? Right, the way you're talking about martial arts suggests that you're not bored with it. You're saying you're going to train until you die. But why? Why? You've been doing this a long time.
Look at the students' faces when you teach them something. Then you say, I got to give them something else. I don't hold back when I teach. I teach whatever they need. I've taught at least 6 or 7 Krav schools. And when I teach, I said, I don't hold nothing back. And if I see something that you are doing, I'll critique it for you, and I'll help you out and make it better. And I get that look, and they go, "Where do you get this stuff from?"
I know that look. I said, I like that look.
I've had a lot of experience when we haven't gotten into this section yet, but I might as well start.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. 1974. I'm in a disco bar, sitting at the bar, and a guy's on the dance floor doing a kata. I think it looks Okinawan, looks Shotokan maybe. So he comes up, and there's an empty chair next to me. He sits right down next to the bar. and he orders a drink, and he's got a real deep French accent.
Mm.
I look to him, I go, Shotokan? He turns to me and goes, Ishinru. I go, I teach, I was studying at the time. I was only like 2 years into the martial arts at the time. So a year and a half. So I said, I teach, my teacher teaches Kung Fu and Indonesians. And he goes, oh, interesting. He goes, we should get together. I'm here as a bodyguard for this guy. And we just got from France and he's here back home, but I'm hired as a permanent bodyguard. So I said, okay, come on over to my house where my client is living, and we'll work out. We'll exchange stuff. I said, okay, great. So he goes, okay, it was Friday night. He goes, come on over to the place, 8:00 in the morning, tomorrow morning, Saturday. Fine. So I pull up. It's an old 1890 brick house. I go to their front door and I ring the doorbell. No answer. I knock on it, no answer. I get back in my car and I drive all the way around to the back of the building. I get out. I start walking towards the cellar door. And a guy comes from my left and a guy comes from my right. Boom. They got guns on me.
Wow.
I freeze. They have me at a perfect 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
So putting back up, only thing I could do is run forward and hope they shoot each other, but I'm not doing anything. So I talked myself out of it, told them why I'm there. They reholstered their guns. They goes, why did you come to the back? You almost got shot. I said, nobody answered the front door. And he goes, well, now that we know you, we won't shoot you anymore. I go, thank you very much. So the guy comes out and goes, oh, well, go. This guy, I met him. We cleared up the whole thing, right? So we do our hour workout. I drive home. I'm getting out of my car. 2 guys walk up in black suits. FBI. I go, what did I do now? He goes, we got the house under observation. We saw you. We saw 2 guys pull guns on you, but we couldn't blow our cover and do anything. So we were just hoping they weren't going to shoot you. So what were you there for? I said, I was there to work out with a bodyguard. I'm a martial artist. And he goes, would you like to work for us? I go, yeah, that sounds like fun. I already almost got shot, so this can't be anything worse, right? So one of the guys pulls out a picture out of his jacket and shows it to me. I look at it, and I almost fall down on the ground. Now, you're probably too young to know who this person is, but it was Patty Hearst. She was kidnapped in California. The Hearst, everybody goes to the Hearst Castle and stuff. Built a millionaire, multimillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
She was kidnapped and she was traveling through the country in a VW bus. The last time the FBI found out where she was Pennsylvania. Her next stop was the house that I was at taking a lesson. So they said, well, you go back and go for your lessons and see if you can see her. So I'm figuring out, how am I going to do this? So I'm taking the martial arts lesson and I go, man, this house is really cool. When was it built? He goes, 1893. He goes, oh, could you show it to me? And he gave me a whole tour of the house. I saw a bunch of girls in there, but none of them were Patty. So I did it for 3 weeks. And then they called me up because we just arrested her in San Francisco. Thanks for the help. Click, goodbye. That was it. That was my my first undercover job.
Wow. Okay.
Arrested in law enforcement. That was
Say again?
That's how I got interested in working for law enforcement. I did it from then all the way up to 2012.
Okay. And what were you doing? Were you undercover? Were you a cop?
I bodyguard a police lieutenant in the 80s who had a contract on him. He did. I don't want to get into it too much. I know it's a long time.
That's okay.
He did something that was really against a couple people and against a tribe, in Native American tribe in Canada, and they put a $50,000 bounty on him. So I was the bodyguard. And then after he retired, he opened up his own private investigation and he hired me as a private investigator. So I
Okay.
was assistant private investigator. So I worked with him all through the 80s. So that's how I got into that. So through that, I got to know the local police department and they knew me by name. So it was pretty well known. So anything that popped up or something, I would, get to do things. Like when I had a couple students come over and they were all officers. And then I started teaching the officers more and more again. And then I taught a whole unit and all at once. And then when they found out that I taught these guys the head of the police academy, they were planning on dropping the whole system of the police academy and create a regional police academy.
Mm-hmm.
They only had like the local and the sheriffs in their academy, and all the other police departments had their own mini academies within a 100-mile radius. Decided, let's bring all the departments in. We'll have one regional academy, and all the departments go to here, and then we send them out to all the different little towns in New York. So the guys saw what I did for the unit. He goes, can you come up with a firearm class, weapon retention class? Because the weapon we got is ancient. It goes back to the old 38 caliber pistols with the button down holster. I go, you got to be kidding me. I said, yes. I looked at the paperwork, and the guy grabs your gun. They put both hands on the gun and hold it for dear life. I said, he's going to take your head off, or he's going to stab you if you do that. So
I don't think people realize how long 38 service revolvers were the common sidearm in law enforcement. It was way longer than it should have been.
LA used to have the clamshell holster, a little button on it, and they opened up the clamshell and take half the time the guns would fall out. So I did the weapon retention and I sent it in, and the captain who ran the academy said, this is awesome. He goes, how about doing the DT, which is the defensive tactics, the whole defensive tactics system? I said, okay, let's start. So I had officers come over who were instructors, and he was the head instructor of the academy, came to my house, and we worked on it a couple of times a week until we got the whole thing down. We threw out everything that was stupid. It didn't make no sense. Because again, what I was just mentioning before, the way I teach, they got officers who live in the gym. Then they hire women who are 5'2", 113 pounds, and they're teaching them both of them exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. The academy has to start open up. You have to, start teaching. If you want women in the police department, you better change your tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some of them are getting better.
Right.
Was my understanding. It's
So,
not my world, but I've read about this a bit.
So he loved the DT, but then in 2012, I think it was, the state took over and threw all my stuff out. So they threw out the DT. So one of my students just graduated academy 2 years ago, and he said, your weapon retention is still being taught. I said, nice.
Cool.
So that was
that's great. Awesome.
So,
this is one of the things that I love about martial arts is that it's taken you in so many different directions, so many places, so many people. And it's something that I try to get newer martial artists to understand, is that what we do, what you train at your school is a foundation on so many levels. And one of those levels can be where it takes you in the world, right? You're talking about being in a nightclub and seeing a gentleman doing a kata out on the floor. And as an Ishinryu practitioner, the first thing my brain did was, okay, what's the most likely kata you saw that has the overlap with Shotokan? I'm going, okay, could be Shinto, because that's something else, and Shotokan. Anyway, and I love how these stories that you're telling, they're interesting, they're compelling. They are the result of martial arts, but they're not martial arts stories.
No, but they connect.
And I find that fascinating because so many of us have these stories.
Jeremy, the martial arts make you think out of the box.
Yeah.
So you don't have blinders on. When somebody says, I have a problem with this, you think out of the box to fix it. You don't have blinders on and say, well, nothing I could do about it. You just got to keep on trying and do it again. I go, no, don't keep on trying something that's wrong. Find out what's wrong with it and correct it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
And not a China shop.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. The majority of our audience tends to be people that that are not going to disagree with what you're saying. They're people that have been training for a while. They're open-minded, right? The very fact that they tune into a podcast about martial arts that is very diverse. It's not a specific style or system. It's not about me and what I teach or anything. It's about all of us. There's an open-minded nature by default there. But for the others, people who are newer in their training, and we do have quite a few of them, what advice would you give to them about taking what they are learning, right? They're probably still so new that they're still a bit in the box, maybe with their training, but maybe also with life. How might you encourage them to gently, safely start opening up their vision?
Go to another seminar. If you're in a dojo and that's what you're training and that's what you're doing, and you feel like I'm missing something, or that is not right for you, or 50% of what you're learning is great, but the other 50% it doesn't fit you. Go some, look up seminars, ask other people, and then go there and see what they have to offer, and then you say, that's the 50% I'm missing. That's going to make me whole. That's going to make me my 100% martial artist. That's going to give me a system and not a style.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, good job bringing it full circle. That was good.
Bingo.
That was good.
Another story. When I teach at prop school, I teach a lot of knife defense, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I teach a guy putting a knife up to your throat, first thing I say, this happened to me. Their eyes light up. I'm not teaching something that I learned from somebody else. I'm teaching something that happened to me. And I was at my girlfriend's house, and a phone call came in. One of her girlfriends said, there's a guy who showed up at our party high on drugs, and he grabbed a knife out of the kitchen, and he's standing in the hallway. And he won't leave. So I said, and we called the police, and they're on their way over. So I said, I'll go over there and just see what's going on. So I walk over there, and there's two officers standing right in front of me, and there's a long hallway, and the end of the hallway is the guy holding the knife. But it's one major problem. Right next to him standing is the doorway to the kitchen, and there's a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old playing on the floor. He's standing in front of the doorway and won't let the kids leave the kitchen. So I'm talking to the officers. I said, you can't shoot. Not with little kids there. It could ricochet. He could run back in. You could miss him. I said, let me go talk to him. I said, So I had a heavy winter coat on, middle of winter coat. So I said, well, I'll button up my heavy winter coat, put the collar up. He's only got one target. Ace. It was a long coat down to my knees. And I said, this will work fine. So I walk right up to him, start talking to him. And I say, man, you got to cool down. I don't know what you're on. You got to, these guys are going to kill you if you don't settle down. And he calls me some name and puts a knife to my throat. Boom, like this. So I put my hands up, but no, this is not going to work. So I hit him halfway in the throat, halfway in the shoulder. And I grab his wrist, and I say, go. And I hear, bum, 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 and the two officers coming down. And they fly right through me, over me, and we all crash to all to ground, all four of us.
Hmm.
The knife goes flying out. Good. He's disarmed. The big commotion. We're trying to grab onto him. He pops up, turns around, and dives out of the second story window, right through the glass window. Bam!
Those are some good drugs. Wow.
Yeah. So he flies out. He bounces off the roof of the porch, and then lands into the snow. So we go running downstairs and we cuff him and take him. So when I teach that, I go, this happened to me. So then everybody's eyes light up. I said, so.
Because it's not just theory.
Yes.
Yeah. It's important.
So those are things. And then when the department that I did the academy for, when they let me do whatever I wanted, I just went down there and said, "Can I work with a gang unit today?" Sure. You just tell me go buy a vest, because all their vests were too big for me. So I bought a vest, and I carried a knife. I couldn't carry a firearm because I wasn't under their insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But the chief told me to go down to the range and shoot with the unit, and I qualified on shotgun. So if anything happened, I was taught how to unlock the shotgun over my head, and I could use the shotgun, but I couldn't use my own gun.
Sure.
So I worked with a gang unit, I worked with traffic unit, and I worked with patrol for years.
You've done.
I just went down.
You've done everything.
Yep.
This is really cool. You've done a lot of things that I think quite a few people in the audience, and I'm going to include myself in that, have looked at and thought about and thought, this is interesting, because it's a way to apply skill, but it's also a way to gain information and gain skill. Right? I imagine that you are a better instructor because of these non-martial arts experiences. You can bring context to so many things and help people, and I'm sure that you've helped keep people safe, by extension, considerably.
You see a lot in an 8-hour watch. Not only the officers you're with, you see, you come across, you get a call and you go to somebody else's problem, and you see how the officers react, and you learn what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right. And that helps me when they come to my house and I teach them. I go, I saw this on Thursday down on this street, and 2 officers couldn't get the guy down. So we're going to work on that today. And then that helps them. And they pass it on to the next guy, especially if there's just 2 guys in one car, or we're having a lot of, guys using backup, because it's dangerous to have just one person now.
Sure.
They always have 2 now. But that's why they'll try to hire more and more officers, so you have 2 officers. Now, some of the gang units, you could have 5 guys in a car.
Yeah. I live in Vermont, and people may not realize, but unfortunately, Burlington is getting a little rough, especially compared to what it used to be. And it was just a few months ago, I was walking the main pedestrian mall, and there were 6 officers grouped together, very clearly maintaining safety for each other. It's I don't want to be out there by myself either.
Yeah,
I don't blame them.
People tell me, why didn't you join the department? I said, I got more done by not joining. I would have been stuck in a job, doing an 8-hour watch or 10-hour watch, and not be able to teach everybody. Plus, I would be doing maybe 1 unit, or I would have been with traffic division my entire career. I got to go to any unit, any division I wanted to. I could pick and choose. So I learned a lot more, and they learned a lot more by having me being free. And it worked out right. And
if people want to get a hold of you, social media, website, email, anything you can share?
Say that again?
If people want to get a hold of you, social media, website, email, anything like that,
Facebook.
You can share?
I'm on, I got my own page, Facebook. I'm on, you can find me pretty easy.
Okay. I know we have some links. I remember seeing some links in the notes. So we'll get those in the show notes.
All you got to do is put Dan Donzella in and on Google, and it's going to pop up.
It's going to be you. It is you. You're the one.
The only one that has that name. So it's pretty easy to find.
Okay. All right.
Well, I got another.
This is. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm stepping on you.
Which relates to martial arts. Uh, Three officers went into this apartment building, and there was this a kid, really very large kid, kind of a little not all there,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and he was in the martial arts, but they never took him. He just watched, play games and stuff like that, video games. Well, he's sitting on the bed, and above behind him is a wooden bokken,
Mm-hmm.
fire hardened wooden bokken. Okay. Well, he grabs it, turns around and grabs it, and starts swinging it at the officers. So one officer tases him. Okay. So a couple months later, the mother suing the department and the officer. So his lieutenant said, call Dan. So he calls me and goes, I got to go to trial on Thursday about this. I go, tell me all about it. It goes, the kid grabbed this sword, wooden sword off the wall and swung it at me, and I tased him. And he said that I shouldn't have tased him. I go, show me the sword. It goes, well, it's in at the department. You got to come down. So I came down. I looked at it. It was a fire hardened wooden Japanese boom. If you got hit by that, it would have cracked your skull and killed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, bingo. Put that in your report. And when the lawyer comes up to you, you tell them what that sword is, and you got it from a martial arts expert, whatever you want to say, and he won the case.
Love it.
So there's another martial arts relation that got this officer in, in trouble. Have the city wasn't sued. He wasn't in trouble. He went right back to work.
That's great.
It's great. I mean, if you know, you always got to know somebody. See, if you know somebody, a lot of times it can really help out and get out of a situation that you don't think you can get out of. But it helps a lot.
Yeah, we're going to start to wrap here. I'm going to throw it back to you in just a moment to close. Okay. I'll have you give the last word for the audience. But for the audience, thanks for being here. Make sure you do check out the show notes. Check out what Dan's got going on. Check out one of his seminars. And check out all the things that we do at Whistlekick. We're a lot more than just a podcast. Here we are. We're coming up on episode 1000. It's brought us a lot of opportunities, and we're doing a lot of things to try and connect, educate, and entertain all of you in the audience. And again, a shout out to Kataro for sponsoring this episode. WK10 is the code to save 10% on your first order. And wholesale accounts. If you're a school, they have opportunities for you, and you definitely should check out what they've got going on there. KATAARO.com. But Dan, thanks for being here. This has been a lot of fun. You are a great storyteller. And how do you want to leave things today? How do you want to leave things for the audience?
I know it, but that was fun. Time went really quick. That was really good, and I really enjoyed it. But to leave the people with something is don't have blinders on. If you're a martial artist, try to continue after you're done. If you feel like you can't go to the dojo no more, you can still work out, still work on your technique. Find a partner, a friend to work out with. And if he doesn't know martial arts, teach him. That'll help you keep your martial arts fresh by teaching it to somebody else. And you'll always have it because you never know when you might need it.